Welcome to Wine by the Bay, where every wine tastes good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wine by the Bay TV. I'm your host, George Bachara. As always, we're sponsored by Goosehead Insurance, the Bachara Agency, and of course, I have the Wine by the Bay TV t-shirt available. I'm wearing one right now. We also have our 92 point I drink it, but I wouldn't buy it t-shirts. I'll have a little picture of that for you. I'll cut that in. We're going to do a little bit of a different episode today. Instead of me tasting some wine in front of you and then kind of talking about it, what we're going to do is we're going to go through our little adventure. We went into the city a couple of days ago. And we went to the House of Prime Rib on Van Ness, right in downtown San Francisco. And we had a little steak. We met up with a few friends, Alex and Natalie, and then Camila, who you haven't met yet. But you'll see a little glimpse of her. And I'm sure at some point she'll come on the channel and we'll do a little back and forth with that. So what we did was I shot a little something going in, shot a little something going out. And then because of the volume in the actual restaurant, I shot a lot of still photos. I didn't shoot any video inside the restaurant, but there's a lot of pictures of what we drank and what we ate. So what I was thinking was I'd kind of do a little narration of what went on while we were there and then come back out and say goodbye. So stay tuned, and we will come to you next from San Francisco, from outside the House of Prime Rib. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wine by the Bay TV. I'm your host, George Bachara. We are out and about again, this time in San Francisco at the House of Prime Rib on the corner of Washington and Van Ness in downtown San Francisco. We're going to have a nice meal with a couple of friends. This is going to be a little different episode. I'm not going to film while inside. I'll take some stills and then we'll talk about everything. When we get in there, it's going to be pretty loud, I have a feeling. And I want to make sure you can hear everything that we're talking about. So see you in a little while. So there's like a really nice wine wall. Well, there's a wine wall, and then there's an actual wine room in the back of the restaurant. But as you walk in, there's a glass display of wine bottles, just kind of as you walk in before you get to the hostess stand. So that's kind of what you're looking at right now. Then once we got to the table, by the way, the decor is very traditional, very classic, very steakhousey, which I appreciate because frankly, modern can get a bit annoying from time to time. So again, very, very classic kind of setup, classic plates, classic decor. And then we went in and sat down. And apparently Camila had bought a nice bottle of champagne for Alex and Natalie, and they were nice enough to come by and bring that with them, I should say, when we came to dinner. So what we started tasting was the Arlaux 2002 Millesime. Okay, I hope that's the correct pronunciation, but I'm really sorry if it isn't. As you know, my French is pretty bad. It's a Premier Cru Rare Brut. It got 95 points, Wine Enthusiast. It's $160 on the internet, 12% alcohol by volume. And because, take notice, 2002, most champagnes are not vintage. They're usually non-vintage because they're blended to keep the style correct. But every 10 years or so, or whenever it's worthy, champagne houses will declare a vintage and do a vintage only. So this 2002 was an exceptional vintage, and like I said, they bottled it 95 points, Wine Enthusiast. So it's a very, very, very big treat. So I really have to thank Alex and Natalie for bringing it, and Camila for giving it to Alex and Natalie. So we got a chance to taste that as well. So a couple of things to keep in mind. When you go into most of your better restaurants, there is a corkage fee. And this particular corkage fee, I believe, is $35, which is very reasonable these days. $35 is not out of control. I know you're thinking to yourself, oh my God. But if you paid, $150 for a bottle and it's $250, $260 on the list, what's $35 among friends? I mean, it's just the cost of opening the bottle. So it's totally worth it. So let's get back to the champagne, the Arlaux. The Arlaux is only produced from the first pressing. Okay, so it's kind of like extra virgin olive oil, first cold pressing, same thing here. First pressing of the juice from the grapes It is left on the lease for 17 years, and it was actually bottled on September 15th, 2021. So, you know, on the back of the label, you'll see the bottling date, you'll see the bottle signed, you'll see where it was produced, and it even says, I believe it says 17 years on the lease. So that's pretty impressive. As I mentioned before, 12% alcohol by volume. And I was really privileged to taste some of this. This is a really great champagne. So on the nose, it was very ripe apple and a little hint of apricot maybe. It wasn't like overly fresh. It was much more developed, much more rich in both look and in nose. It wasn't overly chalky. It wasn't overly acidic to the nose. The color. It was definitely a richer yellow, like a darker yellow, but it had a little hint of pink in it. So it kind of, it was definitely a yellow color with just an eyedropper of maybe reddish hue to it, which gave you kind of an idea of what the flavor was going to taste like. So that was very exciting. And my dog is barking in the background. I apologize for that. Red Fox, please be quiet. Thank you. And then once we got into it, yeah, it was. I mean, it was very much a ripe fruit, like a overripe apple, almost like just a touch overripe, like a yellow apple. Had some apricot or maybe some white peach notes to it, and then definitely toasted hazelnut. There was a very strong toasted hazelnut bottom that kind of permeated through the wine, and it was really, really nice. I mean, it's very unusual for sparkling wine to have that kind of nutty component underneath, but it gave a complexity that you don't always get, definitely with a white wine and then with a champagne. And then, you know, that was the initial impression when we first opened it. Obviously, we opened it cold. But as it started to come to temperature, that toasted hazelnut flavor kind of started to warm up a little bit, and kind of there was a little cream note. So it's almost like a hazelnut cream or almost a Nutella kind of component to it, which again was underneath that apple and the apricot or maybe a little bit of peach kind of thing going on. So it was a very, very, very interesting sparkling wine. I was very excited by it. I think everybody at the table was. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I did talk to Alex, and he was very impressed with it. And, you know, everyone else seemed to be as well. So, you know, while I don't want to speak for anybody else, that was an absolutely ridiculous present, a really ridiculous surprise brought by Alex and Natalie to give us a little taste to kind of kick the night off. Okay, so after we got into the champagne a little bit, we got into that hand-spun salad that they do tableside. It's like iceberg and romaine, chopped egg, pimentos, and beets. And it's all tossed together tableside in a kind of, I mean, I want to say Russian dressing. It's not Russian dressing, but it kind of has that same almost flavor to it, somewhere between a Russian and a maybe a French dressing. I don't really know the exact component of how you would describe it, but it definitely had like an orange hue to it. It was really tasty. Not as thick as a Russian dressing, definitely thinner. So that was really, really good. And then we ordered something off the list. So we ordered the 2015 Robert Foley Cabernet Sauvignon. It was a Magnum. For $150 on the wine list. I mean, it couldn't be passed up. First of all, 2015 is an excellent year. 16 is like a banner year, but 15 was very, very solid. Anything you can get from 2015 from Napa Valley was definitely, a win. Definitely a solid wine. That one was 15% alcohol by volume. It was a Magnum. Napa Valley fruit sourced from Howell Mountain, Atlas Peak, and Mount Veeder. So you're going to get a little bit of elevation, you get some more richness, a little dark color to it, and it definitely did. When we looked at the wine, just color-wise, it had like a very blue-black kind of thing going on. More blue than black, but definitely dark, opaque. Couldn't really see your hands through it. I don't think it had a whole lot of alcohol. As I recall, the legs weren't particularly thick and syrupy. They were there for sure, but they certainly weren't like overly present. So again, that kind of gave you a hint to the alcohol also. The alcohol is 15.5, I believe. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, 15.5 alcohol by volume. But I have to say, the alcohol was not super, super present. It was definitely secondary, both in the nose and then again on the palate. So this wine, when you smelled it, smelled very rich. The tannins were very integrated. And it had like a little blueberry, blackberry jam kind of a smell to it. And the same thing kind of happened on the palate. The palate was very like almost a blend of blueberry and blackberry jam, maybe more blackberry jam than blueberry jam, and it had a very strong red pepper, spicy kind of component to it. In fact, when I first drank it, and it was open about 20 minutes and decanted, so it probably could have benefited from a little more air, but when I tasted it, it definitely had a punch of red pepper flake, which was, unexpected considering the nose. The nose had a little bit of cedar on it, just a little bit, but you definitely had that like fruit bomby thing going on. And then the fruit bomb was met with, again, a very spicy red pepper flake kind of an experience. So it was very, very nice. And those two kind of competed against each other, with, I would say, the red pepper kind of winning out. And then it definitely muted the alcohol experience. So while you got a chance to taste it going down and you felt a little bit of that harsh, so that was nice. It was definitely a California Cabernet. You could even, because it was so sweet fruit integrated, if there wasn't the spice, you would almost think of it as a little flat, a little fat, and a little flabby. But that red pepper spice definitely brought it back from the brink and made it taste much, much different. It was not flat at all. It was very, very delicious. And then it complemented, obviously, the prime rib really, really, really well. So let's talk about the prime rib. We all ordered the King Henry VIII cut, which is the bone-in cut. I ordered mine mooing, still negotiating for its life, super rare. I think everyone did. Maybe one person ordered medium rare. I'm not really... Don't think anybody really did that. I think everybody was like rare plus, which is the way to order any steak, in my opinion. Having worked in steakhouses for so long, you see a lot of well done, you see a lot of medium well, and you feel kind of bad for those people. And I know that prime rib tends to be more marbled, a little fatty for some, and that extra cook caramelizes the fat, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm a rare plus kind of guy. Maybe charred on the outside. Obviously, with prime rib, you're not going to get a chart on the outside. So what they do is they bring over the Zeppelin, excuse me, the portable carving station, and they carve it tableside for you. So that's pretty good. I mean, you should be seeing some pictures of that right now. It's still framed, so you're not getting the full experience of them, waving the knives around, all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely exciting to see that Zeppelin of meat arrive, and the chef carve everything up for you, and they do a little baked potato. We got cream spinach. One of the people at the table got cream corn. I don't remember who. And then Yorkshire pudding on the side. So the Yorkshire pudding is that little bread thing that they cut up for you. The meal was fantastic. I mean, it wasn't overly complicated. It wasn't like, a 3 Michelin star tasting menu at some fancy restaurant, where you go home hungry and then you have to stop off and get an order of fries at McDonald's or something. So it was very, very delicious. It was very satisfying. The baked potatoes, I mean, we all did loaded, which is bacon, butter, sour cream, and chives. So that was excellent. And, we just had a really good meal. I mean, really, really good. And that wine complemented the steak. It was a perfect combination. The richness and the integration of the cab mixing with the potato and with the cream spinach and, of course, with the steak really made for an excellent experience. And then something I should tell you, at House of Prime Rib, if you order that King Henry the 8th cut, you can have additional steak, which I availed myself of. In fact, I think a couple of people did at the table. If they didn't, I apologize. I don't remember what everyone else was doing. Frankly, I was very enthralled with my meal, and the conversation was very good, so I wasn't watching like a hawk. I did forget to mention that the Robert Foley was $150 on the list, but I was looking up on the Robert Foley website, and they had it at $184 a bottle. So that's a really good deal. I suspect that they had some of that wine sitting for a few years, and they bought it at the lower prices pre-pandemic, which is why they were able to keep it at that 150 level. But I mean, that Robert Foley was an excellent wine. And at essentially $75 for a standard bottle times 2, you are killing it. Of course, there are, there's 98 point, 100 point wines that are on the list that you could order. But if you don't want to go too crazy, because you just don't want to go too crazy and spend $500, $600, $700 on a bottle, or even $300 on a bottle, that Robert Foley at 150 was a knockout. I mean, especially for the price, you can't go wrong. Then we didn't have any dessert. We were very good. I had a couple of cigars with Alex. A couple of espressos went around the table. The ladies had another glass of wine, and then we were pretty much done. The bill was very reasonable, $150 a person with tax and tip. We, always tip 20%, with the tax included, ladies and gentlemen. I can't stress that enough. I know that I'm a little biased because I used to work in the industry, and it is what it is. But I also grew up in New York. I'm going to sound a little prejudiced here, but New Yorkers tip for the most part. East Coasters tip for the most part, and we tip on the tax and the total, and we tip 20%, and that's what we did. So that was pretty much the meal. Everything was really, really good. Like I said, if you go to House of Prime Rib, and I don't even know if you can order chicken, but if you could order chicken, you're crazy. Stay home, make your own chicken. Go to KFC, go to like some sort of French bistro and have, Coq au vin or something like that. But come there for the steak. If you go to House of Prime Rib and you're having chicken or anything other than steak, frankly, I think you're kind of wasting your time. That might be, my steakhouse prejudice come back to haunt me, but that's just the way I feel. Okay, so I'm going to let my past self kind of take us out of here. We are going to cut back to the outside shot of the restaurant, and we're going to say goodbye. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We have one more week of that subscription drive happening. I was going to only do 2 weeks, but frankly, I only got 2 subscribers. So share this video with your friends. If you're not already subscribing, please subscribe. Help the animals by making me make a donation. Each subscriber will force me to donate. So please get out there and take care of the dogs and cats and all the animals that don't deserve to suffer, that need your help, that need my help. So once again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll sign off from outside the House of Prime Rib. Okay, Wine by the Bay TV, another great meal at, that's Camila back there, by the way. We'll talk to her another day. Signing off from, oh, there's Natalie. This is a crazy close, but either way, and where's Alex? There he is. Alex, Wine by the Bay TV, House of Prime Rib, somewhere up there is the sign. Well, you won't get it, but we'll see you again next time.